Greetings, all you Jackson Jennets, and welcome to your daily dose of donkey with Ginger. It's your boy, the Viking Donkey, bringing you Steelers talk after the first week of free agency has begun. And wow, this is news to everybody. The Steelers are out there being active, signing free agents, improving the team. That's not what we do. That's not the Steeler way, but it needs to be the way of the future as the rebuild has begun and it seems to be on the right foot. Adding people, losing people, watching players who struggled leave, wishing them nothing but the best in the future. So let's start off. Who did the Steelers bring in? Nah. Who did the Steelers cut? Joe Schobert, saving $8 million, played middle linebacker for us last year, wasn't very good, needed an improvement there, needed to save that money because, well, he wasn't worth it. Zach Banner, right tackle. Known more as the tackle-eligible tight end packages, as every time he seemed to play as a tackle, he got hurt. Big guy, but saves us $5 million, and who knows, maybe he'll be back at a cheaper deal. But after those two cuts, the Steelers, who already had $29 million in cap space, decide to add more money. That means more signings, right? Of course it does. The Steelers actually went out and got active. They brought in a quarterback by the name of Mitch Trubisky. If you listened last week, you know he's one of two quarterbacks that I really wanted the Steelers to bring in. Mobile guy, fits well into a Matt Canada offense. But they also brought back Dwayne Haskins, tendered $2.5 million contract. Gotta like those contracts both. I mean, Trubisky was 2 years, $14 million, essentially up to $24 million if he reaches his incentives. That's a good deal based off the contract values you're seeing for guys like Deshaun Watson getting $1 billion guaranteed dollars, and no one knows if he's going to be able to even play next year, and they had to give up 3 first-round picks just for the ability to sign Deshaun Watson for a long deal. I mean, I don't know, but if I was Cleveland, I'd be nervous because every time I do something like that, it seems to not work out very well. But hey, you never know. They can do that. I like what the Steelers did better. I mean, if they bring in Mariota, too, to compete with Rudolph, Haskins, and Trubisky, I'd be even happier because then you're talking more competition, the better. Maybe one of the 4 guys works out really well with the Steelers. Who knows? But that's not all we're doing. That's not all we have to talk about. We have to talk about addressing the offensive line. The Steelers went out and signed 2 of the better free agents, in my opinion. I like Mason Cole, could play guard center. He's a guy who's improved every year he's played. He's not the greatest right now, but he plays average guard or center. And if you know the Steelers, you know average is an improvement because last year that offensive line play was probably the worst I've ever seen in my life, and that's saying something because, man, oh man, were they bad. But the Steelers aren't done yet. They had James Daniels, one of the best offensive guards out there, in my opinion. I love to see what he does. He's an aggressive guy. He goes out there, he pushes the line, comes over from Chicago. PFF's 19th rated guard last year, if you're a fan of PFF ratings. But hey, if you watch his tape, he's an aggressive guy. He plays well. He's played with Trubisky before, so who knows? Maybe there's a little talk, and Trubisky is like, yeah, you got to go get this guy. He really knows what he's doing. I hope so. But watching the offensive line improve was awesome, especially the interior. And then we get to the tackles, and I guess the Steelers like Chuck Okorafor and Dan Moore as they didn't sign any outside tackles. They just gave Chucks a new 3-year, $30 million contract. And I'm like, I'm not sure I'm a fan of that move, but hey, it is what it is. The Steelers like him. I'm going to wish nothing but the best. I hope they draft an offensive tackle or sign one of the remaining fringe starter type guys because otherwise I'm a little nervous with what we have on the tackles going out there. But really watching the Steelers be aggressive as you saw so far with the signings I've mentioned. I mean, signing a quarterback, signing some offensive linemen, not the Steelers' way, really. We did lose 3 receivers. Juju Smith-Schuster goes to Kansas City. James Washington goes to Dallas. And Ray McCloud gets a $10 million 2-year deal with the Niners. That's a lot of money for Ray McCloud, and the reason I'm going to tell you that is he's mostly a return specialist, and the Steelers managed to sign last year's AFC Pro Bowl return specialist, a guy who is better at the return game than Ray, in Gunnar Olszewski from New England for a 2-year, $4 or $5 million contract. So for half the price the Steelers get, in my opinion, the better player. That's great to see. The Steelers upgrade a position while paying less money. And the offense seems to be building a little better. And the reason I say that is if the offensive line gets better, I don't see how the team doesn't get better because Najee is going to have more space to run, whether it be Trubisky, Rudolph, or Haskins throwing the ball. If they have time to throw the ball, that's going to be better. Give more time for guys like Claypool and Deontay Johnson to get open. And hopefully another receiver gets added in. I'm looking for Jarvis Landry, Pittsburgh. I'm just saying, so far you're really doing things I like. Can we add a Jarvis Landry in here? Great slot receiver, great veteran presence. And you know I say veteran presences are needed because locker room is huge. I think Jarvis Landry is a tough guy. I think he's the type of guy that fit in great in Pittsburgh. Now that I've run here, ran out of breath, and talked through the offense and how the Steelers were actually aggressive, we still have to talk about the defense. I mean, defensive line play, let's be honest, the biggest question here is Tua coming back? Is he going to be healthy? But the Steelers did a little bit to make the depth better. They brought back Montravius Adams, who was in last year, came off the practice squad from New Orleans, played a lot, played decent football. Type of guy you want as a depth guy, $2 million sign, couple-year deal, bring him back, like it. Steelers also bring back at linebacker Marcus Allen and Robert Spillane. I like the Spillane at a couple $1 million. Allen at $2.5 million seems an overpay for me. Allen really just isn't a great player at this point. He's never been. He's supposed to be a coverage linebacker, yet he was the worst coverage linebacker the Steelers had. How in the world does that work? I don't understand, but it is what it is. He's back. I hope it works out. I hope him nothing but the best, clearly. Then we get other re-signs the Steelers had. Miles Killebrew for about $1.5 million and Arthur Millette about $1.5 million. I like both these signings. Both are quality depth guys. Both serve different purposes. Killebrew, great special teamer. Remember the block punt for a touchdown in the Buffalo game? Miles Killebrew. That's what I mean. He's the type of guy that you bring in just for a special teams acumen, can fake it at safety. Wasn't very good when he had to play there, but could fake it out there a little bit. Millette, very similar. Great special teams player, but he actually has a role. He is a good blitzing corner. He's a good run-stopping corner. So when you need that nickel dime corner who's more downhill playing, like Mike Hilton used to be for the Steelers, Millette's a good fit there, but he doesn't really have the knack to intercept the ball like Hilton. That's why you get him at a cheaper deal. His coverage is not as good as Hilton's, but a good little Swiss Army knife type of guy to fit in there every now and then. Then we get to the re-sign I really love. Ahkello Witherspoon. I called him out a lot early because he looked lost. The one game he was in, he got torched twice, and that's all you remember until the last 6 games. He comes in and looks like the best corner the Steelers have, heads up with 3 interceptions when it looks like Joe Hayden's not coming back, which in my opinion is a good thing because Hayden looks like he lost a step. You need a Witherspoon back because you need depth. You need the ability for someone to make plays, and turnovers are king, and I've said it before. I'll take a guy who gets burned if he can turn the ball over. That seems to be Ahkello Witherspoon. I like the re-signing here. I mean, just $2.6 million is all it costs this year, so nothing bad there. Now let's get into the Steelers, again, signing some outside free agents to improve the defense. Let's start Levi Wallace. Undrafted guy from Alabama, last played in Buffalo, a guy who intercepts the football, plays cornerback, plays it well. Probably going to be a day one starter for the Steelers. I loved it. One of the more underrated signings for them. Levi Wallace, great signing. Going to help that secondary out a lot. Wouldn't be surprised if you see him and Witherspoon started on the outside and Cam Sutton move back into his more comfortable slot position. You got to like when the Steelers make moves like that. And then we're not done. Myles Jack gets cut by the Jaguars. So last year we traded for Joe Schobert from the Jaguars. Didn't work out so well. This time Myles Jack gets cut. Your prototypical modern-day linebacker. Big, fast, can do it all. Struggled a little bit last year, but come on, the Jaguars were terrible. Did he really struggle, or was that just the whole team being bad? I like the Myles Jack one. I think he's going to come in and fit in really well. About $8 million a year, I believe, is what it is. 2 years. It's 2 years, $16 million. Probably only cost about $6 million this year and will cost a lot next year. I love what they did there. I like the way this defense is shaping up. I like the way the offense is shaping up after 1 week of free agency. I think the Steelers are doing what they need to do. They need to continue this. There's still some holes you need to be filled. Safety, for instance, need to decide if we're bringing back T Boogie. I love Terrell Edmonds. I think he'll fit in great. I think he's fitting great with Minka. I think they need to bring him back, hopefully at a decent rate so they can still go out and, in my opinion, still sign one of those fringe starting offensive tackles. Those are the two big holes I see. Maybe you add one more edge rusher because I'm not sold that one, I'm sold we have about zero depth, but two, you need to get TJ some help. Let's be honest here. There's no Bud Dupree on the other side anymore, and Highsmith to me doesn't really cut it. Hopefully he takes a big step next year, but I'd like to see some depth added there at least. With that, I give the Steelers a solid B plus through free agency so far. I mean, added a good return specialist, added some potential starters on defense, upgraded that offensive line, added 2 potential starters there, and added one of the 2 quarterbacks I really wanted. To get free agency to an A, we still need to address the safety situation, the edge pass rusher situation, and preferably a veteran wide receiver who can play in the slot. That's what I'd really, really like to see, because those are the type of players that would take this team up one more notch, one more level. Let me know what you think of the Steelers free agency so far, as I'd love to hear your talk. Let me know how you think the rest of the AFC North free agency is working out. If there's crazy news to cover again, we'll talk about it next week through free agency. If there's any major trades happening, we'll cover that. I believe Matt Ryan might have got traded today. We'll try to do more covering the whole NFL. That's what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll bring in a special guest host next week. Who knows? But it's time to give a shout out. And this week's shout out has to go to Big Al Villanueva, former Army Ranger, former Pittsburgh Steelers left tackle for a long time. Sad to see his career end as a Baltimore Raven, but hey, it is what it is. Can't argue with a man for going to make money. Big Al hanging up his cleats. It's great to watch him play. Great to watch him stand up for what he believes in. Always a fan of Big Al Villanueva, so that's my shout out. I am the Viking Donkey. That's Viking_Donkey on Twitch and Twitter. Your daily dose of Donkey with Ginger is a YouTube channel. Leave us a like, comment, tell us what you like, tell us what you'd love to hear. Hey, tell us if you want us to cover something other than just football, just Steelers talk, maybe some baseball, maybe some basketball, maybe some political news. Who knows what's going to go on in the future here. But Donk Nation, Steeler Nation, love y'all. Wave them if you got them. Here we go.